Hello, I'm Alberto Badenes from the Department of Marketing and Market Research of the University of Valencia, and I'm going to present the work entitled Personal, Experiential and Sustainability Related Factors to explain food delivery apps use and recommendation, a review, co-authored by my PhD supervisors Enrique Bigné and Carla Ruiz, also from the University of Valencia. I'm going to start with a short introduction and justification of the relevance of the topic. This is the new scenario when we think of not cooking today, the one that you can see at the pictures. The existing food delivery systems have grown exponentially in the last 2 years. Some traditional restaurants have shifted to this model in order to survive during the pandemic. Food delivery is the new paradigm for eating outside, not only during the pandemics, but also consolidating globally nowadays according to the forecasts, especially among the millennials and centennials. Nonetheless, food delivery also has an impact on the industry's environment. The two most remarkable effects are the work conditions for the riders, the people taking the orders to the homes, and waste disposal, especially in terms of plastic, to deliver the food in an optimal status for consumption. We have, based on an existing literature, attempted to answer some of these questions. It is important to say that the literature so far is still scarce and fragmented. But the most relevant questions that came to our mind were, first of all, to conceptualize food delivery apps and try to see which types of food delivery apps exist, which are the theoretical approaches that can explain the food delivery app use and recommendation, and which are the factors from a customer point of view that explain these two behaviors related to food delivery apps, and how can we classify these antecedents of food delivery app use and recommendation. Our main attempt is to, first of all, consolidate knowledge about food delivery apps so far, and second, know more about the antecedent of food delivery app adoption and recommendation from customers or users. With this purpose, we have based our theoretical framework on three different literature or theoretical streams that we have tried to integrate: the technology acceptance model, the uses and gratification theory, and the theory of reason action. Our main contributions are to propose a preliminary typology of food delivery apps focusing on retail applications aimed to final customers, to build a theoretical model that considers the different groups of factors that explain food delivery app use and recommendation, and moving beyond technology adoption, which is the most used theoretical approach when dealing with food delivery apps in academia, to explain the use of this digital technology from a customer and an environmental perspective, to give a more comprehensive view of this new phenomenon. We start by defining what is a food delivery app. We speak about online business platforms that offer food order, payment, and monitoring of the process. It is becoming more and more important in economic terms. In fact, we speak now about a global market that is worth more than $150 billion, having more than tripled the value since 2017, only in 4 years. In the US, for instance, the market has more than doubled during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, we speak about an industry with some defining features. First of all, the fact that it, of course, increased a lot during the pandemic, but it is also expected to turn into a consolidation phase after the effects of the lockdown and the COVID-19. Nevertheless, it is still a fragmented market. There are few players, but some of them have a dominant position. For example, in Europe, we would speak about Just Eat, Uber Eats, Globo, or Delivery Club as the most important players in the industry. Overall, we speak about a young sector with important possibilities to grow, so it hasn't, of course, reached maturity yet. Based on our research, we have defined an initial typology of food delivery apps. It is important to consider that we are focusing on retail FDAs that are focused on final customers and connecting a supplier and a customer. We would have, on the one hand, supplier food delivery apps on the left-hand side, and we could classify them as the own food delivery apps, the ones that prepare and deliver their own cooked food as their only activity. Here we include the examples of Witaka, in which they cook their own meals as a menu for the whole week, or food in the box, which is into the new phenomenon of meal kits. They provide with all the ingredients and the recipe so that the person can cook, both of them with a more healthy approach. But we also consider the restaurants with delivery. It is similar, but they prepare and deliver cooked food while also offering a restaurant service. Indeed, delivery is not necessarily the main activity, even though it may have grown in importance with respect to in-person activity. This is the case of several small local-based restaurants that use this strategy to survive while the lockdown was on. We put the example of Domino's Pizza or some local restaurants such as La Hamburgueseria, which is a well-known startup here in Valencia. But we also have the intermediary food delivery apps, the ones that act as intermediary between a third-party supplier and the customer. We have third-party food delivery apps, the ones that pick up the cooked meals from a supplier, usually a restaurant, but could also be the so-called dark kitchens that are working nowadays, that are only focused on producing for delivery, such as the case of Cuina, and bringing these meals to a final customer. Here, the app acts as an intermediary, such as the case of Just Eat or Uber Eats. We also have order delivery apps, which pick up not only food, but also different types of orders, in which we also include prepared meals. It can be a restaurant, but also a supermarket, drugstore, etc. This is the case of Globo, which also acts as an intermediary. Speaking about the theoretical frameworks, first of all, we have the technology acceptance models that tells us that the perceived ease of use and usefulness are the two key factors that predicts consumers' decision to adopt a certain technology, in this case, the food delivery apps. Hospitality and tourism researchers have discovered that the perceived ease of use and usefulness are strong predictors of consumers' attitudes, emotions, intentions, and behaviors related to the technology adoption and usage. Moving to the uses and gratification theory, this theoretical stream enables to understand why and how users actively want to use a specific medium to satisfy their needs. It has been tested for understanding the reasons behind engaging with specific platforms, which is the case of social media or other electronic retail segments. And finally, the theory of planned behavior explains the determinants of an individual decision to take a specific action and the relationship between attitude and behavior. According to the theory, the human behavior is guided by three kinds of considerations: the behavioral beliefs, the normative beliefs, that is the subjective norm, the pressure that we have from the others, and the control beliefs. Am I ready to undertake an action? Do I have the tools to help me at my disposal? The methodology that we use for this study, we perform a Boolean search at Web of Science using the core collection, and also at Scopus at November 2021, and we use both databases to increase the number of reference to studies, since, as we said before, they are not abundant until today. We have still a scarce body of literature. The topic that we used for searching was food delivery app, included in the title, keywords, abstract, and content. We focus only on research articles in different areas of interest: business, management, economics, but also communication and psychology, given the fact that we are considering personal factors that have to do with the way in which customers react to communications from the company. As you can see, the number of articles published in the study field grows exponentially. The first articles found date from 2017, and the results in 2021 are almost 2 times higher than in 2020, up to the date in which we carried out the search. Regarding the sources from such articles, we graphically present here the 5 most relevant journals, those that have more than one article about food delivery apps published. Well, we perform a classification on the antecedents that we found in three categories. The first one is personal factors, which are related to personality factors and subjective perceptions that influence one's actions. In terms of food delivery services, the consumer's attitudes and the subjective norms have been found to impact positively the behavioral intentions towards these apps, while the perceived behavioral control had a negative impact based on the theory of planned behavior. A review of the existing literature also proposes several dimensions of consumer innovativeness from a personal point of view, that is, seeking novelty, seeking quality and hedonic experiences, and trying to be distinct from a social point of view. These ideas play a critical role in the formation of an attitude towards using drone food delivery services. On a second category, we have the experiential factors, which are related to the expected benefits of using the service and the interface. Based on the users and gratification theory, benefits such as customer experience, searching for restaurants, and ease of use are positively related to intentions to use the food delivery apps. Similarly, perceived mutual interests with the food delivery applications influence the perceived equity, which leads to loyalty intention towards the app. Finally, an interesting category that we developed is sustainability-related factors, which haven't been considered specifically from an academic perspective for food delivery apps. However, we find a strong body of literature already about sustainability in food consumption. What we find in different media, in more divulgative media, is that in general, the food delivery app sector lacks of transparency and performance in terms of environmental, social, and governance issues. If we find one generic problem that applies to most of the food delivery apps, is plastic accumulation. So, as a result, we provide this theoretical model using a holistic approach with integrations of different groups of factors, personal, experiential, and sustainability, into the use and recommendation of food delivery apps. And with this exploratory work, we contribute in three main aspects to existing knowledge in the field of FDAs. We propose our typology, focus on the final customer, based on the role of the app as an intermediary or supplier of the meal. We integrate different theories to explain FDA use and recommendation, and we present a new comprehensive theoretical model including personal, experiential, and sustainability-related factors. Likewise, we suggest a series of implications for practitioners in FDA managers, restaurateurs, and marketers as well. And of course, there are several limitations to be pointed out. Of course, the empirical demonstration of the results, we would need to gather data through a survey, panel, or experiment, and focus on specific variables within the categories we created. We could also extend the scope of the literature review, maybe focus on other aspects of food delivery in general, not only through apps, and to complement this with bibliometric analysis to generate different clusters, to see the different topics that are relevant in this field. And also, since this is a new field of interest, gives a lot of future research direction. We have plenty of avenues to investigate. We here highlight only some of them. The empirical testing that we already commented, how the communication through food delivery apps impacts on the customer in terms of product information, delivery conditions, and the advertisements that can be included in the apps. The inclusion of neuromarketing techniques such as eye tracking for attention, facial reading for emotional reactions, and the study of other relevant dependent variables related to the FDAs, such as the willingness to pay, the continuation of use, and the engagement. So with this, we finish our presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we will be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.